Welcome to this rhythm, feet and meter in poetry, prezi. Now, first of all, don't be scared by it. It is easy to do, okay? All you need to do is get used to practicing it and you will be able to understand it. Rhythm, feet and meter are so important in poetry because it's really what gives poetry its heart and soul. Remember, poetry was initially a spoken word piece of literature. It was never really intended to be read. Back hundreds of years ago, before the televisions, or even just a couple of hundred years ago, before televisions, radio and everything like that, it'd be quite common for people to go and listen to poetry recitals. A recital is just a poetry reading. Poetry is full of rhythm, and rhythm is quite simply just a pattern of beats of stressed and unstressed syllables when it comes to English. So for rhythm and meter, as I've said, rhythm gives poetry its sound, and there's lots of different ways it's used, and a lot of them are related to rhythm. Stress and accent, a line of poetry, just a single line of poetry, never mind the punctuation, is absolutely full of syllables. Remember, every word that we say has at least one syllable in it. So when a syllable is given emphasis, when it's given strength, it's called a stressed syllable or a heavy syllable. Stress is quite simply what we call the emphasis that's given to this syllable. So for example, for water, you've got water. It's got two syllables. Now the first syllable, wa, is a stressed one. If you listen to how I say it a few times, you can hear that the wa sound is more stressed. There's more emphasis put on that first syllable than the second. Water, water, water. And quite simply, it's a stressed and an unstressed syllable. A foot, or a combination of them becoming a feet, is a combination of stressed and unstressed syllables in a line of poetry. Now, important to remember here that a spondee is different here because it's got two stresses syllables one after the other, as in crash bang, da da. When you see words like here that are capitalized and in bold, that indicates to you that it's a stressed syllable, and ones that aren't in bold means that they're unstressed. So an I am is an unstressed and stressed syllable, as in collapse, collapse, collapse. If you listen to it, it's the second part that is stressed, collapse, collapse, collapse. It's the apps part which sounds heavy, collapse. A shrocky is a stressed and unstressed syllable together, as in pizza. Again, that's a great example because you really hear the P sound being much more emphasis than the za, pizza. An anapet is an unstressed, stressed syllables, and for example, but of course, but of course. No matter how you try to do it, you put more stress in the word course than you do but of. Because each word just has one syllable, it's an anapet, da da da, but of course. A dactyl is when you've got a stress at the beginning followed by two unstressed syllables, as in honestly, honestly. If you listen to it, honestly, it's that sound that is really emphasized. Again, it's another, yeah, it's really that side that's emphasized. And finally, a spondee is two stressed syllables, a da da, as in crash, bang. Bit more information there for you. A foot is just a combination of stressed and unstressed syllables, as I say there, unless it's a spondee, which is two stressed syllables. Lots of different combinations, some are more popular than the others, and we mark an unstressed or light syllable with an X, and a stressed syllable, or heavy syllable as it's also known, is with a slash symbol. So an I am is a foot with two syllables, one that's stressed, one that's not. Chalky, two syllables, one stressed, one that's not. Spondee, a foot with two syllables, both stressed. Anapest, three syllables, two stressed followed by one unstressed. And a dactyl, a foot with three syllables, one unstressed followed by two unstressed syllables. Now, feet make up the meter. A meter quite simply is a pattern of feet, if you want to think about it that way. If you're going to walk a meter, you've got to use your feet. So the meter contains feet. Think about it that way. Now feet's what we've just looked at, and quite simply the number of feet that are in a line are the meter. So the number of iams or trockies or spondees, the different number of them that are in a single line make up the meter. So, for example, you can see here You've got monometer, dimeter, trimeter, tetrameter, pentameter, hexameter, heptameter, and octameter. It's quite similar to maths. And a manometer is a line with 1 foot right through up to 8 feet. The most popular types of feet are tetrameter and pentameter. You'll see them in a minute in the next slide. Quite simply, it means a tetrameter, for example, has 4 different syllable patterns. So for example, if it's I am and it's unstressed stressed, then a tetrameter is quite simply got 4 different units of these syllable combinations. So what this means, quite simply, when we put it into practice with the poetry, is that we can see that these lines all here, if we zoom in, we can see shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. You can hear the stressed and unstressed syllables in the lines. Now if you look here, you've got an unstressed and a stressed, unstressed stressed, unstressed stressed, unstressed stressed, unstressed stressed. That means it's an I am. There is, if we look at them together, remember that a foot is just a unit of stressed and unstressed syllables, or however it is. Stressed, unstressed, stressed, 1, unstressed, stressed, 2, 3, 4, and 5 there. You've got 5 different five different feet there, which make up a meter. When there's 5 feet in a meter, we call it pentameter, which means that it's quite simply iambic pentameter. Now, just a little example there. Although the word temperate, although the word temperate has 3 syllables, we count the meter that we're looking for patterns in syllables, okay? By that I mean we do not look at the words, or we don't look at the number of syllables in the word to try and work out what the meter is going to be. We look at the syllables, the pattern of syllables. We know that an unstressed and a stressed combination is called an iamb. For example, a stressed and an unstressed combination is called a trochee. That helps us work out what it is. We simply are looking, as I said, at the pattern. Unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed. Thanks very much. That means it is iambic pentameter. Okay? There's an unstressed stressed being an iamb. There's 5 different feet in the meter, meaning that it is iambic pentameter. Simple, eh? A few more examples for you here. Iambic pentameter, unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed, and so on. Just like Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day by Shakespeare. You look there, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different sections, 5 different units of syllable combination. They're unstressed, stressed, therefore iambic pentameter. Anapaestic here again, and you've got trochaic as well there. And that's a little bit more information for you. That's more advanced, so please feel free to look at the prezi if you're wanting to take notes on that. And finally, this is mixed meter with iambic feet. All of them are iambs, unstressed, stressed. It's a Wordsworth poem called Imitations of Immortality, but he changes the meter. He changes the meter on each line. So it's iambic pentameter, because there's 5 different iambs in there, 5 different units. Then it goes into tetrameter because there's 4, diameter because there's 2, back to 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. So you can play about with it quite easily. You can also play about within reason with the feet being used as well. Okay, what have we learned? Rhythm, quite simply, is made up of syllables, stressed and unstressed syllables, which therefore mean that it's made up of feet. A foot contains at least 2 syllables, any combination of stressed or unstressed, usually up to 3 syllables. And meter, quite simply, remember, if you're going to walk a meter, you've got to use your feet, therefore meter contain feet. The meter is the number of feet in a line of poetry.